I'm tired of being a slave to my phone. I still struggle with checking my phone every time I'm working. It profoundly bothers me that this keeps happening to me. Specifically, opening Instagram almost as a reflex with no reason whatsoever in the middle of important work. By being a slave to my phone, I drain my energy and saturate myself with cheap dopamine, making it virtually impossible to achieve my goals. That's why in this newsletter, I set out to look for a perspective and actions to help me solve this distraction problem once and for all. I believe that if I manage to not distract myself at all, will produce the biggest results in my life. Ideally, I want to be able to fully focus on the task at hand without wasting a single second on my phone. I want to give my entire self to the task, accomplishing it not only in the fastest way possible, but also in the best way possible. To me, that level of focus seems to be the most important character trait that I could aspire to in life. It might sound dramatic, but I do think that. Is there something greater than being able to focus on what you're doing right now and giving your best effort on it? I found this Marcus Aurelius quote that I think encapsulates this concept. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice, and on freeing yourselves from all other distractions. Yes, you can, if you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life, and stop being aimless, stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you, stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life? If you can manage this, that's all even the gods can ask of you. I love that last part where it says, that's all even the gods can ask of you. I interpret that as if there's nothing else we can do in life but to give our entire self to the present and task at hand. It looks like the most noble pursuit of all. But before I go over my personal experience and how I plan to achieve such level of focus, I wanted to ask myself this question. Is there a benefit to letting my mind distract itself on the phone while working? There have been moments when by using my phone I saw very good videos that were useful to watch, video editing ideas, business quotes, self-development videos, etc. But if I think about it, I cannot recall even one specific video. So if any one of them were truly life-changing, I will remember at least one. And I can't. So I feel there's no benefit to letting my mind get lost on the phone. Another good reason that I can think about is that it led me to awesome video editors and content creators that I followed and favored, so I can only consume that type of content on the favorite tabs on Instagram. But again, I cannot recall any particular creator because I haven't yet sat down to deliberately consume the favorites tab on Instagram. So that hasn't completed its purpose yet. So the answer is no. There's no benefit on letting my mind get distracted in the middle of important work. I know, shocking, but I'm putting two and two together in words so I can finally nail this down. Now, let's go over my personal experience, and this is what I've tried so far to avoid grabbing my phone while working. I tried just pushing myself with willpower and gave my best to mundane tasks, and it worked immediately, especially with boring work for clients. But from what I remember, I only managed to do it for 1 week or two. And as soon as I broke that level of focus, I went back to grabbing my phone on every working session. I've tried putting my phone on airplane mode while working, but also from what I remember, it worked great for just 1 week or two. Because one day I just had to check something really quick on my phone, and within a few days, that small slip compounded and led me to never putting my phone on airplane mode ever again. Lastly, the one habit that stuck but still doesn't manage to solve the distraction problem I have is working no longer than 1 hour straight. I schedule my day in 1 hour blocks of work with 15-minute breaks in between. That led me to higher levels of productivity and lower levels of burnout. That's all I've tried to accomplish my highest levels of focus possible so far. But before I go over the solutions I came up with to finally solve the issue of grabbing my phone while working once and for all, I wanted to do a quick research about dopamine addiction and focus from the one and only Andrew Huberman. Ultradian cycle. Don't try to focus for more than 90 minutes. After that, be idle and rest for 10 to 30 minutes. That's because maintaining focus is an active process and requires a lot of metabolic energy. Addictions. The short time between desire, the trigger, and effect, the dopamine release, teaches the system to want short gaps between those two instances, and it makes it very hard to pursue things that have longer gaps and lower dopamine peaks. The higher and faster the peak in dopamine, the deeper the dopamine baseline falls. And that below the baseline level triggers the desire and the pursuit of more of the addiction. Not only that, it takes longer to go back to baseline after each use of the addiction. And also, with time and repetition, the peaks in dopamine are lower and lower. That way, the whole system steers you to unsatisfaction and a greater desire to pursue the addiction. Craving and pursuit. Dopamine increases when we start to desire the thing. In other words, we create anticipation. But soon, that small peak decreases below baseline, and that drop triggers the desire to take action and go get the thing. Dopamine stacking. Intrinsic motivation is the goal. If you can do something that you don't need to stack dopamine before it, like caffeine for a workout for example, then don't. Because if you stack dopamine, you might have a better result, but with time and repetition, you'll be losing the drive to just do it. Probably because the dopamine baseline has crashed by stacking so much dopamine for many sessions. High dopamine baseline. From what I understood, one key to having high levels of focus is to have a high dopamine baseline. That way you don't succumb to cheap dopamine and focus on good dopamine sources that have longer gaps between desire and completion. Those are conclusions that I came up with. It's not word for word what Andrew said, but I'll leave below the links to all the videos that I took that information from. And all of this leads me to my plan to finally defeat my phone addiction once and for all. 1. Put the phone on airplane mode while working. I have to get out of the cheap dopamine loop I'm in, so I'll be cutting the addiction from the source. Ideally, I wouldn't need this, and I would be concentrated so much on the task that having a phone with an internet connection by my side wouldn't be a problem. But I'm not there yet, so I have to be realistic and implement this practical step to then, with time, lean on the next steps to control my focus. 2. Dedicated 30 minutes a day to social media consumption. I don't believe that social media is evil, it's just a tool. But it's a powerful tool that if misused, it can create me a lot of problem and trouble. But if wisely used, it can create me a lot of beautiful things. For that reason, I want to keep consuming social media. And I know from experience that 30 minutes a day is more than enough to catch up with friends and cool creators. 3. Describe for myself in great detail the big ambitious vision that I have. I know that anticipation and having a goal is a big part of the dopamine system, and the idea is to crave and pursue good dopamine. In my case, my dream. Building a video editing agency. But since the gap between desire and accomplishing my dream is very long, it'll be hard for it to compete with cheap dopamine. I will need a clear enough vision of what I want to accomplish so that craving beats the craving of cheap dopamine. I'll make a newsletter about it since writing will help me a lot with describing and developing that vision for myself. 4. If I no longer wish or feel that I cannot continue on deep focused work, I can choose not to work, but I can only do nothing. As Andrew said, maintaining focus is an active process and requires a lot of metabolic energy. Therefore, it's okay if I can't work with full focus for the amount of time that I scheduled. I'm not a machine. So if I feel the urge to grab my phone or distract myself because that's all my brain can do from the exhaustion of trying to focus so much, then I will stop working and do nothing that requires focus and attention. I could go on a walk, lay on my couch, or do house chores, for as long as it takes my brain to gain energy and focus. Hopefully that takes no more than 15 minutes, because past that I will feel that I'm wasting my time. This also applies to my scheduled breaks in between the 1-hour work blocks. 5. Doubling down on good nutrition, good sleep, training, and adding at least 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning. Something that I'm great at is training and nutrition. Sleep could be better, but the one thing that I'm not doing yet is 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning. So I'll be more diligent to have better sleep and add those 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning. This way, I will not only be improving my dopamine baseline to the max, it will also equip me with the most amount of energy possible to sustain my focus throughout all my working blocks for the day. That's it. Simple actions that are way easier said than done, but that I believe will have a life-changing effect if I execute them properly. These are actions that I kinda knew already, but writing them down and reflecting on my past tries allows me to believe in them and know that these are not arbitrary and silly actions. They are worthwhile and powerful. I want to thank you for watching the video till the end. Of course, you can follow this journey throughout all my socials, YouTube for the long form videos, then X, TikTok, Instagram for the short form content, and most importantly, my newsletter if you prefer reading. But yeah, that's all I have for this week. And again, thank you for watching the video.